So we're meaning I, but Nellie and I are going to start a new topic for this week, and it's stories. And I'm going to read from a section in our book, Reflective Meditation, Cultivating Kindness and Curiosity in the Buddhist Company. And we put the section of story um, in chapter 2, where we entitled Learning to Meditate. So we really think story is a big part of meditation and learning to meditate and continuing meditating to meditate. The heading of the section that I'm going to read from is called All Experience is a Story. So this is the short paragraph. This book is a story. Most Dharma teachers tell stories. The Buddha taught in stories, discourses that included parables and conversations. I've heard many people repeat the stories that the Buddha supposedly told, and then tell another story about hearing his story, or stories. And meditation teachers probably have varied intentions in telling stories. So I want to review this little story that we told in our book with you now. Because what strikes me at first is, we titled this section All Experience. And I'm kind of wary of those all and never and, very certain little words that have a kind of a big disclaimer. And so I wondered, as I was writing the talk, do I still stand by this? And I liked the way I phrased it, that stand by this, because it's saying that I can stand by something seems provisional to me. And like, okay, it doesn't commit me to saying that this statement is capital T truth, but it's how I see it now. And it captures something I know. And yeah, I still stand by this. All experience is a story. So just for today, and we're going to go from there. Because the Buddhist stories that we're talking about in this paragraph seem really obvious. It's using language, thinking, thoughts, words to get our point across to ourselves and others. That often explains or expresses feelings, sensation, thoughts. So then to talk about our experience of the story and then the experience of that story, it makes it really complex. It feels like I was opening up a can of worms. I didn't even realize what we were pointing to in just this small paragraph. So yes, I looked it up. I looked up the word story, and I found 6 different definitions for this one little word, and went, okay, let me just kind of paraphrase the definitions. A story can be a real or imaginary telling of events for entertainment. Okay. I know I tell myself a lot of stories for entertainment, and they're very entertaining, and actually I enjoy them. But story can also be a report a report of an item of news, something that's important to know, something to get across that people should know or would want to know. A story can be a gossip or a rumor. It can be a lie or a false statement. It can also be an evolution of events, how things unfolded, how things progressed, what happened. And it can be an account of something, but it's not always the whole truth, a piece of it. I'm so glad they included that definition, because that seems to be a lot of what we're talking about with stories, is that it's not going to be the whole truth, but it will be a piece of something. So I want to be more careful when I use the word or when I hear somebody else use it, to actually be able to discern a bit more of what the context is when we're using the word story, especially in regards to meditation, because most often it's used as derogatory, something that's entertaining in a bad way, or false, or not quite the right kind of truth. And I think that's what we're getting at with bringing in intention into the paragraph, that there's a variety of intentions in telling stories. And right intention is a spoke on the Eightfold Path, that we're trying to refine our intentions. We're looking at right intention as right thought, right aspiration, right motivation, and right meaning more authentic, more real, more wholesome, more positive. So again, remembering that the same story can be told with different intentions, with different attention or different focus, and that we're not always able to see our intentions in the present. This is why we need reflection and memory, and this kind of hindsight that comes after we've been involved with a story or told a story. So I try to remember that we're all telling stories. This to me doesn't feel like a bad thing. It actually feels more like, oh, I have some more room with what I hear from other people, especially because in reflective meditation, the stories that we're trying to tell are closer to our experience, closer to what we're experiencing, and we're trying to look for some of the pieces of the dharma in these stories. And sometimes we have to sort through a lot of other stuff before we find the dharma in what we're trying to express or talk about. But intentions are often forgot if the story rings true. So an aphorism came to mind when I was writing this, and an aphorism is another kind of story. It's a terse, short report of the truth. But this youth is wasted on the young. It's just been ringing with me. And it started ever since I saw this young Japanese mother at our pool with three kids, three young girls. And they're just jumping all over each other, swimming, and have their little bathrobes and their Crocs. And we're all of us oldies in the water aerobics are just like riveted towards them. They're providing us with something every time we see them. And I think how beautiful and energetic and precious youth is. And then I think they probably don't know that. I didn't know that when I was young. And I have some sadness in it. And it feels like this feels true. It feels like a true statement to me. And again, true is another one of those words. There's no really full truth, or nobody has it that I'm trying to get. But we're trying to kind of get a little closer to our stories and see what they mean to us and what the intentions are in them. Just a note here is that I think most of the time when I tell stories, because I have, let's say, more of a positive valence on story than negative, I often think they're closer to true than false. So sometimes that's a little bit of my blind spot, that I have to remember, oh, some of the stories I tell might not actually be as true as I think they are. And I think that's another part of what we're trying to discern with stories and getting to know them. Where are the small little deceits or unconscious ways we don't want to know something? And we're interested in those and trying to pull those out of our stories. And on the last note is there's some experiences in meditation that don't have language. So often we say those are not story. They're better than story. They're beyond language, beyond story. But we've gone into the direction of saying those can't stand alone, that those experiences that don't have language will be languaged afterwards. They're going to fit into your worldview. They're going to fit into your self-view. And that if they stay indescribable, they may contain a sense of mystery or wonder, but they also may contain a sense of frustration or perplexity, or trying to repeat them to get mystery or wonder into your world. And so rather than freezing your stories, we really want you to allow them to mature. And some stories have to mature quite a bit before we're ready to say goodbye to them. So I'm going to end with one other paragraph in our book. Our inner world is full of stories. Stories about what has happened, what's happening, and what might happen. I used to believe I should and could cut off stories, but now I believe I need to look into them and be more curious about them. What are your stories in why are your stories in meditation less worthy than the Buddha's, than famous meditation teachers, than ours? I will end here. We'll have 20 minutes for meditation today, 10 minutes for reflection, and then 20 minutes where we could have a little bit of discussion about the theme and also about your experience in meditation.